Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel, Bachelor Nation news fans. The sun dipped low over the Malibu hills, painting the sky in shades of honey and rose. The golden Bachelor mansion glimmered in that perfect California twilight, a haven of champagne dreams and fragile hearts. Cindy stood at the balcony, her hands gripping the cool iron railing. She'd told herself not to read too much into Mel's smile last night, that soft, knowing grin that lingered on her longer than on anyone else. Yet, here she was again, replaying every look, every word, every pause. Tonight wasn't a private date. It was the group date, that infamous setup where affection met competition, and every woman's confidence was quietly tested. "Ladies," host Ellen called from the garden below, her voice crisp over the sound of the wind. "Mel has something very special planned today. Get ready for a little adventure and maybe a surprise or two." The word surprise always made Cindy's stomach tighten. Moments later, the sleek black van arrived. Inside, the women, Cindy, Rachel, Dana, and Trish, laughed nervously, their sequin tops catching flashes of light from the window. Cindy tried to smile, but her heart was elsewhere. When Mel finally appeared wearing a soft blue button-down and that disarmingly sincere smile, the world around her muted. He waved and she caught his eye, just for a second, but it was enough. That look, that warmth. It wasn't just TV magic, it was something more. "Good afternoon, ladies," Mel greeted, stepping forward. "I hope you're ready for a little journey." "Where are we going?" Rachel teased. Mel's lips curved. "Somewhere peaceful, a place that helps you open up." As the van rolled through the winding road toward the coast, Cindy's mind swirled with questions. She wasn't sure if Mel was hinting at something, but she felt a shift in him. He seemed thoughtful, almost heavy-hearted. They arrived at a serene vineyard overlooking the ocean. The scent of jasmine and oak mingled in the air. A picnic had been laid out beneath a canopy of fairy lights. Mel raised a glass. "To being open, honest, and to following where your heart leads." The women echoed his toast, some eyes brimming with quiet hope. As conversation flowed, Mel moved from one woman to the next, asking about their families, their fears, their dreams. When he finally sat beside Cindy, her pulse quickened. He looked at her in silence for a moment, long enough that the others started whispering. Then he smiled faintly and said, "You look beautiful today, Cindy." She tried to laugh, but her voice trembled. "Thank you, Mel. You look calm, which means you're about to say something that'll make me nervous." He chuckled softly, but his eyes stayed serious. "You might be right about that." The cameras panned closer. The world seemed to hush around them. "Cindy," he said gently, "there's something I need you to hear from me directly, something that might change how you see everything." She froze. The sparkle of the ocean blurred in her vision. "What do you mean?" she whispered. He reached into his jacket pocket, not for a rose, not for a note from production, but for his phone. The women exchanged confused glances. "During the last few weeks," he said quietly, "I've learned a lot about you all, about what I'm really looking for. But last night, something happened that I didn't plan." He unlocked the phone and handed it to Cindy. On the screen was a message, written to her. It began, "Cindy, I can't wait until the cameras are off to tell you how I really feel." Her breath caught. It wasn't the words that shook her. It was the timing. The message was time-stamped before the group date, before today, before this public confession. "Mel," she said softly, "you sent this before we even saw each other today." He nodded slowly. "I did, because I didn't want to say it in front of everyone until I knew you were ready to hear it, but I think it's time." Cindy's heart thudded. The other women were silent, their champagne flutes untouched. "What are you trying to tell me, Mel?" He looked straight into her eyes.
a look raw enough to make the air tremble. "That I meant every word I said in that message," he said quietly. "I'm falling for you, Cindy, and I didn't expect it to happen this fast." The camera zoomed in on Cindy's stunned face. She blinked, her lips parting, trying to process what had just shattered the delicate balance of the group. Dana whispered, "Oh my God." Rachel crossed her arms, whispering under her breath. But Cindy just stared at him, the world spinning around her. "Mel," she finally said, her voice trembling, "you can't just drop that on me in front of everyone." He gave a faint, regretful smile. "Maybe I shouldn't have, but I needed you to know it's real." The scene ended with the faint sound of the wind and a single close-up of Cindy's face, a mix of shock, fear, and something dangerously
laughed
close
anymore.
to love.
The clinking of glasses, the light-hearted chatter, gone. In its place, a heavy silence hung over the vineyard, as if even the ocean had paused to listen. Mel's confession wasn't supposed to happen like this. Not in front of everyone. Not during a group date that was meant to feel fair. Cindy sat frozen, her mind racing. Her heart wanted to leap into his arms, to believe every word he just said. But her head screamed that it wasn't fair. Not to her, not to the others, not to the fragile balance of what they'd all agreed to. Rachel leaned back in her chair, her eyes narrowing. "So, is this your way of telling us who your favorite is?" she said sharply, forcing a small laugh. "Rachel, please," Mel said gently. "That's not what this is about." "Oh, really?" Dana interjected, her tone frosted. "Because it sure feels like we're just extras in someone else's love story right now." Trish sipped her wine quietly, pretending not to notice the rising tension. "Let's all take a breath," she said softly, though her voice wavered. But Cindy couldn't speak. She felt every gaze on her, every camera fixed to capture her next reaction. The woman she was, the careful, composed Cindy who'd built walls around her heart after losing her husband 5 years ago, wanted to disappear. But the other Cindy, the one who had slowly, reluctantly opened herself to this journey, felt something she couldn't deny. Mel turned to her, voice low and earnest. "Cindy, can we talk? Privately?" The producers hesitated, but after a moment, Ellen, the host, nodded slightly, giving permission. They walked through the vines, the sound of gravel crunching underfoot. The sunset painted long shadows between them. Cindy finally turned. "Mel, you can't do that again. You can't just—" "Tell the truth," he cut in softly. She exhaled, frustrated. "Tell me you didn't know how that would look." He took a step closer. "Of course I knew, and I didn't care." "Mel." He meant every word in that message, he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I didn't send it for the cameras. I sent it because I couldn't hold it in anymore. You make me feel alive, Cindy. Like I'm not just living out some reality show fantasy. Like I'm finally ready to love again." She swallowed hard, staring at the man before her, the man who was supposed to be guarded, neutral, fair. Yet there he stood, unguarded, trembling slightly, as if the admission itself had cracked him open. "Mel," she whispered, her eyes softening, "do you realize what this means? If the others think you've already chosen me, everything changes. They'll resent me. The show will twist it. People will think I—" He reached out and gently touched her hand. "Let them think what they want. I just want you to know how I feel." The touch burned, not in a bad way, but in that dangerous, electric way that made her heart skip. She looked at him, really looked at him, and saw the sincerity there. And yet, the fear lingered. "Mel," she said quietly, pulling her hand away, "I need time." He nodded slowly. "Take it. But whatever happens next, that message was real. I won't take it back." When they returned to the table, whispers followed like ghosts. Rachel and Dana exchanged glances. Trish looked down at her plate.
Cindy sat, trying to stay composed, but her mind was chaos. Later that night, under the soft lights of the confession tent, a producer asked gently, "Cindy, how are you feeling after that?" She hesitated and then said, "I don't know if I should be happy or terrified." "Why terrified?" "Because I've been protecting my heart for so long. I didn't expect to feel this much, and now the man I'm falling for just confessed it back. In front of everyone." The camera lingered on her as a tear slipped down her cheek. Meanwhile, back in the mansion, the other women vented in hushed tones. Rachel tossed her cardigan onto the couch. He crossed a line. It's supposed to be equal opportunity, not a love letter parade. Dana nodded. If he's already sending messages, what's the point of the rest of us even being here? But Trish, ever the quiet observer, said softly, "Maybe he just couldn't help it. You can't fake that kind of connection." Trish shot her a look. "Oh, please, you sound like a Hallmark movie." But Trish's words lingered. That night, Cindy lay awake in her villa suite, scrolling through the photos on her phone. There was one of her and Mel from their last one-on-one, laughing by the lake, faces close, like two people who forgot they were being filmed. And now this. Her heart said yes. Her logic screamed no. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. An unknown number. Her breath hitched when she opened it. "I meant what I said tonight. But if I hurt you or made things harder, I'm sorry. I just needed you to know. M." She read it 3 times, her fingers trembling. A secret message. After everything that happened? Cindy turned off her phone, her pulse racing. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, only that the world she thought she understood had shifted again.
The mansion didn't wake up to the usual laughter over coffee or light teasing about who'd get a rose. Instead, the women sat quietly, each lost in their own thoughts. Rachel tapped her manicured nails on the countertop, glaring at the kitchen door as if Mel himself might walk in. "I swear, if he gives Cindy a rose tonight, I'm done. I'll pack my bags right here." Dana poured herself more coffee, not looking up. "You won't leave. None of us will. We've all seen this before. Producers love a villain edit. Cindy's probably as freaked out as we are." Rachel smirked. "Freaked out? She's glowing. Did you see her face when he said it? She looked like she'd already won." Cindy, who had quietly entered the room, froze at the doorway. The conversation cut off instantly. "Morning," she said softly, forcing a smile. The silence that followed was heavy. Dana murmured a quiet hello, but Rachel just looked away. Cindy set down her mug, her pulse quickening. She wasn't naive. She knew how this looked. The cameras love tension, and right now she was the eye of the storm. But underneath the unease, a new question haunted her. What if Mel really meant it? What if this was her second chance at love? Later that afternoon, Cindy was called to the balcony for her confessional. The ocean wind tangled her hair as she sat down, trying to keep her emotions steady. The producer's voice was calm. "Cindy, the message last night, do you think Mel crossed a line?" She hesitated. "I think he crossed the line his heart told him to cross." The producer leaned in. "And do you want him to take it back?" A tear caught in the corner of her eye. "No, I just wish it didn't have to hurt other people in the process." The camera lingered. She didn't know it yet, but that single line would later become one of the episode's most replayed clips online. That afternoon, Mel stood alone by the fire pit, waiting for the cocktail party to begin. He was calm on the surface, but his hands betrayed him. They fidgeted with the cuff of his sleeve, a telltale sign of nervousness. Ellen, the host, approached quietly. "You stirred up a lot last night, Mel." "You could say that," he smiled faintly. "Are you sure you're ready to stand by what you said?" He nodded slowly. "If I start filtering my feelings now, I'll end up with a connection that's half real. And Cindy, she deserves something real." Ellen studied him for a moment, then sighed. "Just be ready for fallout. They always love a love triangle, or in this case, a love explosion. As the women gathered in their gowns, tension wrapped the room tighter than the sequins on their dresses. Mel entered, his presence instantly commanding the space. He smiled, but his eyes searched for one person. When he found Cindy sitting quietly by the edge of the couch, their gaze locked, and in that moment, everyone knew the unspoken truth. Rachel exhaled loudly. Here we go. Mel began with small talk, trying to ease the mood. I know last night was emotional. I want you all to know I respect each of you. You've shared your hearts with me, and I don't take that lightly. Dana crossed her legs, unimpressed. Respect is good, equal opportunity is better. He looked at her earnestly. You're right, and I owe you all honesty. That's why I said what I said to Cindy. I didn't want to play games. I wanted her to know how I feel. Rachel muttered. Well, mission accomplished. Cindy's throat tightened. Mel, maybe this isn't the time. He shook his head. It is the time, because if I don't say this now, I'll regret it. The camera zoomed in. Cindy, last night you told me you needed time. I understand that, but I also want to say, no matter what happens tonight, no matter what people think, I'll wait for your answer. Even if it means you send me away emotionally before I can give you this rose. A gasp swept through the room. The other women stared in disbelief. Rachel rose to her feet. Are you kidding me? You're turning this into the Mel and Cindy show. What about the rest of us? Mel stood tall, meeting her glare with quiet firmness. This isn't about exclusion. It's about being transparent. You all deserve that. Rachel laughed bitterly. Transparent? More like reckless. Cindy finally stood, her voice trembling but clear. Enough, Rachel. Rachel's eyes widened. Excuse me? Cindy's voice shook, but she didn't back down. You're right. This is messy. But don't make it uglier than it has to be. None of us signed up for this expecting it to be fair. Love never is. For a moment, even Rachel had no reply. After the confrontation, Cindy slipped out to the terrace, needing air. The cameras followed at a respectful distance. Mel joined her moments later. The night was still, the stars glowing faintly over the dark sea. I didn't mean for things to go that way, he said quietly. She looked up at him, eyes glistening. You don't regret what you said, do you? He shook his head, not for a second. Even if it costs you the others? He took her hand gently. If it means being honest with you, then yes. Her lips parted, a mix of awe, confusion, and something warmer. She whispered, You have no idea how hard it is for me to trust this. I do, and that's why I'm not asking for trust tonight. Just a chance. The soft music swelled as he leaned in, not quite kissing her, but close enough that the air between them buzzed. The screen faded to black before contact, leaving millions of viewers screaming at their TVs.